Kizamde, hop on the beat!
Welcome back to another JoJo chapter review, although this time it isn't for JoJolian. I'll be taking a look at the first chapter of the new spin-off manga starring Josuke and Hol Horse, Crazy Diamond's Demonic Heartbreak. I've been looking forward to this ever since it was announced back in August. This is the first ever JoJo manga to not be written by Araki. The art is done by Tasuku Karasuma, the author of No Gun's Life, and the story is written by Kohei Kadono, best known as the author of the Boogie Pop light novel series, although you'll likely know him as the author of the JoJo spin-off novel Purple Haze Feedback. I'm a fan of that book, so I was really excited to see what he would do with this premise. A few months ago, we got the one-shot manga chapter Cool Shock Old BT, a sequel to one of Araki's older manga, Cool Shock BT. If you want to see my thoughts on that, you can check out the video I made about it. But needless to say, I really enjoyed it and it gave me some faith in how others can handle an Araki manga. Kadono's actually been working on this story since all the way back in 2013. In an interview from back then, he mentioned how he was planning a story with the same title as this one. He mentions that Araki is very hands-off in order to give him plenty of creative freedom. I think this is for the best, since Kadono has shown that he's really dedicated to making a good JoJo story. The premise of the story is Hol Horse and Josuke crossing paths in Morioh at a time before Crazy Diamond had its name. If you don't remember, Jotaro gave Crazy Diamond its name after the fight with Angelo, so this is set shortly before Part 4. It also features a lot of returning characters from Part 3 and some new ones. But before I say anything else, let's get into the story. The story starts with a short flashback of a woman watching a bird flying overhead in Egypt. Then in March of 1999, we see an old woman talking to Hol Horse. She says that her son was a bird trainer with two beloved pets, one of which was Pet Shop, who we know from Part 3. The son was killed after trying to escape from Dio, leaving behind his other bird, a parrot. This parrot is most likely a reference to the parrot which appeared very briefly in the manga of Part 3. In the flashback where Dio speaks to Polnareff, a parrot is seen on Dio's shoulder. In the anime, this was changed to Pet Shop, and fans have speculated for a long time about whether this parrot is just a prototype Pet Shop design or its own bird. This story seems to be expanding on this parrot, so I think that's really interesting. It's also mentioned that the parrot had the same training as Pet Shop, implying that it is most likely a stand user. The parrot has gone missing, and the woman asks Hol Horse to find it, and he agrees. Then we see Hol Horse out in the street looking at the clock tower and checking his arm where he's wearing 3 wristwatches. This is a really nice detail since it's referencing his defeat back in Part 3, where the clock tower being off caused him to fire at the wrong time, shooting himself. This is showing how paranoid Hol Horse is from his experiences in the past. Next, Hol Horse goes into an alleyway where a kid tries to scam him. Whenever he walks into the alley, he gets pushed back. It's shown that this is actually Tenor Sax, the stand of Kenny G, another one of Dio's minions from Part 3. Although it wasn't clear, I had always assumed Kenny G died during Part 3, but it's nice that he's brought back since he's one of the more forgotten stand users. We see that the stand is used to hide a place where some of the surviving stand users from Part 3 hide out. Mariah is shown to be living here, and Oingo and Boingo are said to be staying there as well. This point in time is a really interesting place to see these characters, since Dio is long dead at this point. Mariah says that without Dio, her life doesn't have much meaning, and that despite not having a flesh bud, she had been completely overwhelmed by Dio's charisma in the past. It's great to see a character that has a guilty relationship with their past with Dio, since before we've only seen characters like Pucci or Jungali A who are trying to get revenge. In Mariah's case, we see that she's just trying to live her life now. We also hear that the Speedwagon Foundations make some kind of effort to rehabilitate people under Dio's control. Mariah mentions that they told her about all of the horrible things Dio had done. For a bit, Mariah attacks Hol Horse and he gets turned into a magnet by her stand, but she's really just messing with him for having taken advantage of Boingo in the past. Boingo still appears to be very short, which is somewhat strange since this story is 10 years after part 3. But if you take a closer look, you can actually see that he has some stubble on his chin, showing that he has aged. We could probably think of this in a way that he's just drawn short, similar to Koichi. They find out from the book that to find the parrot, they have to go to the town of Morioh. The next scene is in Morioh, and we see the girl from the first page again. Her name is Ryoko, and it is revealed that she is the cousin of Kakyoin. Based on the flashbacks we see, it seems like she saw Kakyoin under the effects of Dio's flesh bud, and that Dio tried to recruit her as well. After leaving Kakyoin's grave, she finds Toth on the ground and reads a prediction of Hol Horse hearing Dio's voice. She takes the book right as Hol Horse passes by her, and as predicted, he starts hearing Dio. The lines from Dio are the same ones he said to Senator Wilson Phillips in part 3, when he told him to drive on the sidewalk. Right after this, a man in Morioh starts driving towards Hol Horse as if he had been possessed. I think that this is a result of the stand of the parrot. On the first page, it was said that it was almost as if the parrot was trying to note every detail in the city. Since the city is presumably Cairo, it's likely that the parrot saw the incident with Wilson Phillips in the past, and is somehow causing it to happen again. We also saw the parrot flying over Kakyoin's grave during the scene with Ryoko. When it flew past her, she had a flashback of her memories of Dio and Kakyoin, similar to what happens to Hol Horse a bit later. Hol Horse has memories from when he tried to betray Dio, so I think that whatever is going on here is as a result of the parrot's stand ability. If I had to theorize a bit about how the ability works, I think that since he's a parrot, he can mimic people's voices. We know from JoJo and from this chapter itself that Dio is able to control people with his presence. So it's possible that when the parrot mimics Dio, people can be controlled as well, which may be what's happening with the man in the car. We also get a bit of internal monologue from Hol Horse, where it shows that he also has guilt from being under Dio's control. Unlike Mariah, he hadn't been seduced by Dio's presence, but deliberately followed his orders out of fear. Hol Horse tries to stop the car, and at the last second, he is saved by Josuke. Josuke figures out that Hol Horse is a stand user, and the two start to fight just as the chapter ends. I really enjoy this story so far. It draws on so many little details from part 3 that we didn't fully get to see. I've wondered for years what might have happened to Hol Horse or the other stand users, and this story aims to answer that. I had also wondered what the reaction of Kakyoin's family members was to his death, and we're seeing that too. It's really refreshing to see a story based on parts 3 and 4. It takes me back to when I first read those parts and reminds me of what got me to start loving JoJo in the first place. We haven't seen much yet, but I'm also excited to see what elements from part 4 are going to show up. We know that Josuke won't be crossing paths with characters he's supposed to meet later, so I wonder how it'll be handled. Kadono does a really great job of portraying all this, and it's very clear that he's passionate about JoJo. The same was true back with Purple Haze Feedback, which touched on things like the Stone Mask and Fugo in a really satisfying way. I have faith that he'll be able to pull this off too. Before that though, we have another JoJo manga chapter coming out the same day. This one is called Fujiko's Bizarre Worldly Wisdom, Whitesnake's Miscalculation. It's a one-shot chapter set during part 6 which focuses on Jolene and an original character named Fujiko. At the time of me writing this, it's going to be translated very soon, so look out for that in my next video where I'll be reviewing it. As for this manga, I definitely recommend reading it and staying on board for more of the chapters in the future. You can also bet that I'll be coming back next month to take a look at the next chapter too, so keep an eye out for that. If you want to be updated on new videos or leave suggestions, join the Hamen Beat Discord using the link in the description. To receive rewards like Discord perks and some uncut videos, you can support the channel on Patreon. And finally, for future videos, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. This is the part of the video where I thank my $5 and up patrons. Thank you to Tony, the Owl God, Alex Ramirez, Raziana, Doorbell, Cloudy, Monkman, Ashton Joseph Miller, Crayon, Jesper Jansen, Rigo Vids, Zukato, Shane Giger, Sentai, Pumpkin Doge, Marrow, Bailey Smile, Ali, Almighty Quarth, Oof, PBA SVG, and Kaori.